So I have a couple of pseudonyms. The first one I'm a little bit ashamed about because it's kind of pretentious. It's Virgilius. And this has nothing to do with the Roman poet, but is actually, I discovered that in the 6th century there was an Irish monk who used to, his work was illustrating manuscripts. And this was not very exciting work, so he used to make up acrostics to make things a bit more interesting. And acrostics are forerunners of crosswords. So I chose that name, which I kind of regret now, but I'm stuck with it. My more recent pseudonym for The Guardian is Brendan, because St. Brendan was another Irishman who crossed the Atlantic and went to America, so I thought that was suitable. My other crosswords appear without a pseudonym, but most people get to know who's who, so everyone knows that Virgilius and Brendan are the same person. So when I write comments on the blogs from Brendan talking about the work of Virgilius, it doesn't fool anybody. My real name is George Brian Greer. I go by Brian. George was my father's name, and I was born in Ireland many decades ago and finished up in the USA, like many other Irish people, in the year 2000. Arrived in the fall of 2000 and things immediately started going wrong. Sometimes I wake up sweating and think, was it my fault? But anyway, yes, it was very interesting actually. I arrived to teach in San Diego State, and one of the first things that I discovered that was going on around me was that all the tragic events around Enron and what they did to California were just unfolding. So in my class for future mathematics teachers, the first project I had was to have the students working in groups, collecting data, and I posed the question to them, why are your electricity bills going up so fast? And they produced interesting posters. Most of them told me pretty soon it was basically to do with deregulation. And it got to the point where San Diego Gas and Electricity were tired of getting phone calls from my students asking for information. But it was an interesting exercise. And I remember that we used to go to parties, and I kept asking people, where is the anger? Everybody's fuel prices were going up so fast in California, and of course, subsequently we learned more about it. But people, I couldn't find the anger anywhere. And that feeling of looking around, unfortunately, we have a lot of anger now, but it's among the Tea Party folk, but this is ill-directed and ill-informed, unfortunately. If we could harness some of that anger, as I think Naomi Klein has suggested, it would make a lot of sense. Because what a lot of those people are feeling angry about, but cannot very well articulate, if they could articulate it, many of the things that they're angry about, we are angry about as well.
How did you come to be a crossword puzzle setter, or is there another name for?
Oh, there are many words, and constructor, compiler, creator. There's no standard. Cruciverbalist is another word that is used from the Latin.
How did you come to be a cruciverbalist?
Well, I was studying, and I walked past. I was a student at Cambridge. I walked past the office of the university newspaper and saw that they were looking for someone to do crosswords for them, and I thought I could do that. I'd been solving crossword puzzles since I was quite young. That's how I started. I later then, after I'd moved back to Belfast, someone I knew was starting a bi-weekly magazine called Fortnight, and thought it'd be a good idea to have a crossword, so I worked for them for quite a while, and then eventually I sent some examples off to the Times, what we call the Times, what Americans insist on calling the London Times, but if you actually look at the newspaper at the top it says the Times, whereas what the Americans call the Times is called the New York Times. Anyway, so I got taken on probation and eventually became a regular contributor, and then, jumping ahead of myself again, in 1995 I actually became the crossword editor for the London Times and did that for 5 years.
When you saw this ad looking for a crossword puzzle setter, creator, you had already been solving crossword puzzles since you were a child. Yes. I mean, what is your fascination with crosswords?
I think it's just puzzles. I think the most convincing explanation I've seen as to why people like doing crosswords is that it's a tiny little part of your life where you get all the loose ends tidied up. You get it finished, it's done, it's perfect, it's unproblematic, unlike most of the things in our lives which are sloppy, messy, difficult, complex, never get really sorted out, or troubling. I mean, crosswords are, I would say, an innocent occupation. As far as I know, no crossword has ever done anyone any harm. It's not that they work much for good either, although I have, as we'll probably get onto in a moment, I have produced a few politically motivated crosswords.
You've blogged on this topic as well, which means you've had exchanges with people who solve your puzzles.
Yes.
From them, do you see other kinds of motivations, other kinds of things that draw people into this?
The other main motivation is it's about puzzling. Human beings like puzzles. It's more or less universal in all cultures.
You've been listening to the first 8 minutes of a program featuring cruciverbalist Brian Greer, talking about crosswords, mathematics education, and education reform activism. This presentation is available in full at the Vimeo Home for Videos at vimeo.com. Search on the keywords Greer and PDX Justice. You can also link to this program via the PDX Justice Media Productions website at pdxjustice.org. This program was produced by PDX Justice Media Productions of Portland, Oregon. To find out more about our work and to access our growing library of free on-demand streaming video and audio programs, please visit our website at pdxjustice.org. And write to us with your questions and comments at pdxjustice@riseup.net. We'd love to hear from you. Many of our programs are available on DVD or Blu-ray video disc. Please write to us for ordering information. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for supporting listener-sponsored radio, public access cable television, net neutrality, independent bookstores, and all forms of grassroots, democratic community media.